Breaking news from Alabama, where a man just served 568 days in jail and celebrated his hard-earned freedom by immediately stealing a police car from the goddamn parking lot while the cops who just released him stood there watching like they were witnessing the birth of a new level of stupidity. This isn't ambition, folks. This is performance art disguised as a felony, and I need you to understand how spectacularly this man fumbled his own freedom speedrun. So our hero gets processed out of Morgan County lockup after a year and a half of eating mystery meat and sharing a toilet with guys named Razor, and he's finally tasting that sweet Alabama air, thinking about all the things free men get to do, like sleep in a real bed or eat food that wasn't prepared by the lowest bidder in a state contract. He walks out into the parking lot, probably feeling like Andy Dufresne crawling through that sewer pipe. Except instead of standing in the rain with his arms up in triumph, he spots a Ford Crown Victoria, one of those decommissioned cop cars with the push bar and spotlight that screams "I used to arrest people for a living," just sitting there, keys probably in it, because who the hell is going to steal a corrections vehicle from a corrections facility parking lot? Well, this guy, apparently because his brain immediately said, you know what would be a great way to get home? Grand theft auto of government property. And here's the beautiful part, officers, we're still in the parking lot. Not inside grabbing coffee, not doing paperwork. They were right there, probably waving goodbye, thinking, have a nice life. Try not to come back. And this absolute legend hops in their Crown, Vic fires it up, and just drives off like he's borrowing his mom's Camry to get cigarettes. The cops watched him leave. They stood there with their jaws on the asphalt, watching their own vehicle get stolen by a man they released approximately 4 minutes earlier. You can't script this kind of cosmic comedy. Somewhere in that parking lot, there had to be at least one officer thinking we just let this man go, and he immediately chose crime as his Uber, and now I have to arrest him again before my shift even ends. The kicker? When they caught him. Because of course they caught him. He was driving a car that says, "I work for the state" on the side. He told them he needed transportation home. That was his defense, not "I had a psychotic break," not "I thought it was my car." Just a very matter-of-fact, I needed a ride, so I took the most obvious law enforcement vehicle available, because apparently Lyft was too expensive or required a credit card he definitely doesn't have after spending 17 months in county lockup. This man had 568 days to think about his life choices and plan his glorious return to society, and his master plan was commit a new crime in the same parking lot where I'm being released using a vehicle owned by the people who can arrest me. Now he's back in custody, facing charges that probably come with more time than his original sentence, and some poor public defender is going to have to stand in front of a judge and explain that, yes, Your Honor, my client stole a cop car because he needed a ride home, and no, we don't have a better explanation than that. Meanwhile, the Crown Vic is probably in an evidence lot, somewhere covered in fingerprints and regret, and the officers who watched this happen are updating their incident reports with the kind of detail that makes other cops read it out loud at training seminars as a cautionary tale about expecting literally anything from humanity. 568 days of freedom wasted in under 10 minutes. That's got to be some kind of record. Anyway, stick around because the next story somehow makes this guy look like a Rhodes Scholar. And if you thought that guy's decision-making was catastrophic, just wait, because our closing story tonight involves a military-based lockdown triggered by someone who thought faking a mass shooting was a solid team-building exercise. So we've got Malika Brittingham, a civilian employee at Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst near Trenton, New Jersey, and apparently things at work weren't going great for her. Her coworkers were being cold. Maybe they weren't inviting her to lunch. Maybe they were doing that thing where they stop talking when she walks into the break room. Classic office ostracism that most people handle by updating their LinkedIn profile or eating sad desk salads while plotting their escape, but not Malika. No. She decided the best way to bond with her colleagues was to text someone that there was an active shooter on base, complete with details about hearing 5 or 6 gunshots and hiding in a closet with coworkers who were probably wondering why she was texting during a mass casualty event instead of, calling 911 herself. The person who got that text did what any rational human would do and immediately called the authorities, which triggered a full military-based lockdown. We're talking helicopters circling overhead, armed personnel sweeping buildings, families getting frantic calls. The whole Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst complex, which, by the way, houses Army, Air Force, and Coast Guard operations, so it's not some rinky-dink National Guard armory, went into active shooter protocol because Malika thought manufactured trauma was the secret ingredient to workplace friendship. She's sitting in that closet with her coworkers, probably thinking any minute now we're all going to hug it out and bond over this near-death experience. And they'll finally invite me to Janet's birthday drinks while outside actual trained killers with actual guns are clearing rooms looking for a threat that doesn't exist. Eventually, someone figured out there was no shooter, no gunshots, no bodies, just Malika in a closet with a phone and a catastrophically bad understanding of human psychology. When confronted, she confessed to the whole thing, and her reasoning, I shit you not, was that she'd been ostracized by her coworkers and hoped their shared experience responding to an active shooter would allow them to bond. Let me repeat that. She thought traumatizing an entire military installation and making dozens of people believe they might die at work would make them like her more. That's not networking, that's terrorism with feelings. The irony is, she wanted to be less ostracized, and now she's going to be ostracized by literally everyone who works on that base, plus anyone who reads her case file, plus probably her own lawyer, who had to stand in court and explain that, yes, Your Honor, my client faked a massacre because Karen from accounting wouldn't say good morning. Somewhere on Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, there's a group chat where her former coworkers are still processing the fact that the weird lady who sat 3 cubicles over decided the path to friendship ran through active shooter protocol and helicopter deployment. There's probably a commander somewhere writing the most insane after-action report of his career, explaining that the threat was neutralized because it never existed, and the perpetrator was just really lonely. And Malika? She's got a criminal record and the kind of reputation that follows you to every job interview for the rest of your natural life because nothing says hire me like I once locked down a military base to make friends. The best part is this, absolutely did not work. Her coworkers definitely don't like her now. In fact, they probably liked her more before she turned their workplace into a tactical response scenario. She went from mildly ostracized to permanently radioactive in one text message. That's efficiency. Turns out fake shootings don't build trust. Who knew? Leave it in the comments. Hit that subscribe button, because God knows what other insane news I'm going to dig up next time.